Okay, so section 6. Section 6. Scrolling down, scrolling. 6A. 6A, list of the names that occur more than twice in our customer database. Okay, so here we're going to employ having a little bit. So select all last names. So we're just concerned with last name from customer. Okay. If you're not sure what the field name is, there's always looking over here, cust last name, or again, if we have select star from customer and we overwrite that star correctly, then IntelliSense will help us. And it looks like we're getting customer last name and number with same last name is the next column. Number with same last name. So if we want to get the count of last names, we can group by that same last name. And then for each record that contains that last name, we can do some aggregate functionality. And if we're looking for just a number of last names or number of customers with the last name, we can just get a count of the customer records that are coming out, which is what we're comparing against. Now it says list last names that occur more than twice. See, if we just do this, then we end up with number with the same last name being 1 in a lot of cases. We're looking only for the ones that happen twice or more, right? Or actually more than twice, so 3 or more times. So what we want to do is, your first instinct is to say where something is greater than 2, so more than twice, right? But the reality is that what we're looking for is where the count is greater than 2. Problem is we're not allowed to ask about aggregate functionality in the where clause because the where clause is processed before the select list. Therefore, count doesn't exist. Grouping hasn't happened yet. So nothing that happens on these aggregate functions has been processed. It's not available to the where clause. So if I try to run this, I'll get an error. The error says it may not appear. An aggregate may not appear in the where clause unless da-da-da-da-da. Okay? What we need to do is move this where clause down and give it a new name. The new name, having, is equivalent to where. It just happens later in the execution when we have aggregates available. So having itself is like a where clause, but it happens after grouping. So then aggregates can apply to our criteria. So I do this, and now you see I have Brown and I have Pitts, 4 and 3. And let's check our results here, 4 and 3, there you go. Cust last name, number with the same last name. We've got more or less what we're looking for. Okay, so far so good. Now let's say 6B, list all cities that occur more than once in our customer list. Now things get a little tricky here because, and again, I'm just going to comment this out the old single button way. Just get that there. There we go. Okay. All right, so it says, be careful, the same city name may appear for more than one province, and we only want different physical city locations. Take a look at the output first. All right, so you'll notice when I look at my output here, I have a province abbreviation in my output. There's a hint there, right? So let's looking at my output. I want to go prov abbrev so that I can put that in my output, and I want to put in the customer's city, a city, and then there will be a number of cities that appear more than once. More than once. Okay. Now there's no column heading in this image here. That was my mistake, it looks like, but you can put in whatever column heading you want as long as it makes sense. List cities that occur more than once in our customer list. So cities more than once, right? And we're going to grab that from customer. Now, customer has a province abbreviation field, so we're good. We don't need to grab one from the province field. We might have, if we were actually outputting the province name, we might have joined in the province table, but that's not strictly speaking necessary here. Now, more than once, how do we figure that out? Well, what we can do is we can group by the city and then get the number of records that exist for that group. Therefore, we can run a count star and group by city. You'll also notice that if I try to run that, I have to add in province abbreviation here. So we'll make sure that province abbreviation is also in our group by list. Now, one thing you might notice is that because a city can occur in the same province and a province can occur in the same city and so on, if you group by city first and then by province, it's really no different than grouping by province and then by city in this kind of case. But there will be some times when it is important to group by the parent and then by the child. So it's probably a good habit to get the thing that is kind of the broader stroke and then get to thinner strokes as you go, meaning, you know, a province is a bigger region than a city. A city belongs in a province. So we'll get the province, the bigger region first, and then the city, which is the smaller of the two. So now when I run that, I get a pretty decent list, but this more than once, what we're looking for is a count being at least 2, right? So what we need to do is add in that having clause again, because we're looking at count, which we could not use in where, and we'll say greater than 1. And there you have it, Brookings, Manitoba, and Guthrie, Newfoundland. Brookings, Manitoba, and Guthrie, Newfoundland. I'm fairly certain that these city names are made up. I don't think that the database that I got it from has created actual city names or anything of that nature, but something to remember just in case you're trying to refer it to real life. All right, here we go. 6C. Let's add in a comment there. Get rid of this. All right. List all provinces in which the company has 20 or more customers. Okay. So what we need is provinces. We can use the province abbreviation again, but in this case it's saying output the province name. Therefore we need a name column, which is only available in the province columns. We don't have a province name available in our customer, so we've got to join in the province table this time. So let's select star from province. It's the parentmost table in this relationship. Interjoin the customer on provinces. Prov ID, prov abbreviation, is equal to the customer's prov abbreviation. So that's the primary key on province, you see. Primary key on province. And you can see foreign key on customer. It's the same name, but they're different columns. Now we're looking for all provinces where we have 20 or more customers, and we're outputting province name and number of customers. So we can just grab prov name directly, and we can grab our number of customers by grabbing a count of our records, because we're grabbing province and customer records as num customers. 20 or more. So we got to group by province name. Why do we have to group? Because we have a count in there. If we have a count to sum, min, max, or whatever, then anything that is not contained within one of those functions has to go in the group by list. And we're going to say having prov, we're looking for count star being greater than 1. So, greater than or equal to 20. My head was in the last question here. So 20 or more, not more than 20. So 20 or more is greater than or equal to. If it was more than 20, then it would just be greater than 20. Now if I run this, I have British Columbia 22, 20, and 26. 22, 20, and 26. I have no column name here, so it's good that I came up with my own. 6D. This one's also potentially somewhat difficult, but let's try the easy mode first, and then we'll go on to the hard mode. So 6D. Add in our comments, get rid of our funny characters. Throw in spacing and stuff where we need it. All right. List the first name, last name, city, province, and income for customers with last names discovered using your query from question 6A. So let's have a look at 6A again. Brown and Pitts, those are the last names we can use. Let's do the hard code first. All right, so select star from customer where, then we say cust last name is, we can do it two ways. We can say where it's equal to Brown, or where cust last name is equal to Pitts. All right, those two last names that were in 6A. And so far so good. I'm just outputting all details right now, but let's switch so we output only the columns that we were asked for and maybe format this a little nicer for a moment. So we have first name, last name, city, oh, province is an abbreviation, so let's do that, and income. All right. So far, looking a little bit more like what we're looking for. Good. And we want to, oh, so there, that's one way to get it. Notice Elsa down to Gwendolyn, there's 7 rows, and that's exactly what I have. And if you look at it in more detail, you can see that you have exactly the same thing by doing that. However, there is a shorthand way we could have done the last names. If we hard code, we can also say where cust last name is in and provide a list in brackets. Brown, Pitts. And that's just as good, does exactly the same thing. But the in also has another syntax that allows us to provide a list with a query. Now this is where the challenge mode comes in. We didn't look at this directly in class as yet. So let's look at it now. We can grab this list here, last name, Brown and Pitts. Now if we want to, we can pass an entire column of records into this in clause. But we couldn't pass this as is because we have a set of 2 columns, and for in we have to have one single column for our outputs. We only want Brown and Pitts and whatever. Now we don't, strictly speaking, need this count here for the having to still apply. The having is allowed to apply even without it. So we end up with the same list, only we don't have the extra excessive column, which means we can actually use this whole thing as a subquery. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab our previous query where we hard-coded the last names, and I'm going to replace that in list with this whole query from 6A minus the extra column as a subquery. And here you have it. This is the challenge mode one. I'm going to copy in the comment just in case. This is where I just paste that in there, highlight and comment, and we're good to go. All right, so this is method 1. This is method number 2. Those are a couple of ways you can answer it, but the reality is that you could possibly have several other ways you might answer it. I can't think of them all on the spot, but I know for a fact there's not only 2, 3 ways to answer the same question. There's often many. So now that was the end of our question 6, and now you'll be going on to section 7, 8, and 9, which are inserts, updates, and deletes, which I do not intend to go over here. You should be able to get a pretty good grasp on them from previous videos.